Hello, I'm Philip Sneller. Welcome to Window on the Word. Today let's turn to Daniel chapter 6. It seemed good to Darius to appoint 120 satraps over the kingdom, who would be throughout the whole kingdom, and over them 3 overseers, one of whom was Daniel, that these satraps give account to them so that the king might not suffer loss. Then this Daniel distinguished himself above the overseers and satraps because an extraordinary spirit was in him, and the king planned to appoint him over the whole kingdom. Then the overseers and satraps began seeking to find a ground of accusation against Daniel regarding the kingdom. But they could find no occasion for fault because he was trustworthy and no negligence or corruption was found in him. Then these men said, "We will not find any ground of accusation against this Daniel unless we find it regarding the law of his God." Then these overseers and satraps came by agreement to the king and said to him, "O King Darius, live forever. All the overseers of the kingdom have consulted together, the overseers and satraps, the counselors and governors, that the king should establish a statute and enforce a decree that anyone who petitions any god or man for 30 days, except you, O king, will be thrown into the lion's den. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the document, that it may not be changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians that cannot be revoked." Therefore King Darius signed the document and decree. As soon as Daniel learned that the document had been signed, he went to his house, where he had windows in his upper room that were open toward Jerusalem, and 3 times a day he knelt on his knees and prayed and gave thanks to his God as he had been doing before. Then these men came by agreement and found Daniel making petition and praying to his God. Then they approached and spoke to the king concerning the edict. "O king, did you not sign a decree that anyone who petitions any god or man for 30 days, except you, O king, will be thrown into the lion's den?" The king answered and said, "The command is firm, according to the law of the Medes and Persians that cannot be revoked." Then they answered and said before the king, "That Daniel, one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king, or the decree that you have signed, but 3 times a day he makes his petition." As soon as the king heard this word, he was exceedingly distressed with himself, and he set his mind to deliver Daniel, and until the sun went down he was striving to rescue him. Then these men came by agreement to the king, and they said to the king, "Know, O king, that it is the law of the Medes and Persians that no decree or statute that the king establishes can be changed." Then the king commanded, and Daniel was brought, and he was thrown into the lion's den. The king spoke and said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, deliver you." And a stone was brought and was placed over the mouth of the lion's den. The king sealed it with his signet ring and the signet rings of his nobles, that nothing might be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace and spent the night fasting. No musical instruments were brought before him, and sleep fled from him. Then the king rose at dawn, at the break of day, and he went in haste to the lion's den. As he approached the den, he called out to Daniel with an anguished voice. The king spoke and said to Daniel, "O Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions?" Then Daniel said to the king, "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouth of the lions, and they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. Also before you, O king, I have committed no crime." Then the king was exceedingly glad, and he commanded Daniel to be taken up out of the den. And Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no injury was found on him, because he trusted in his God. And the king commanded, and those men who maliciously accused Daniel were brought and thrown into the lion's den, they, their children, and their wives. And they had not reached the bottom of the den before the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Then King Darius wrote to all the peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, "May your peace and prosperity abound. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom people are to tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, because he is the living God. He endures forever, and his kingdom will never be destroyed, and his dominion has no end. He is the one who rescues and delivers. He performs signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. He has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions." So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Thank you for listening. To God be the glory.